Hey friends, welcome back to Soul Podcasting, where we're all about diving deep into the art of podcasting with purpose and passion. I'm Demetria, your guide on this creative journey, and I offer podcasting advice, strategies, and support for heart-aligned entrepreneurs who want to share their message with a purpose, make an impact, and grow their network. Welcome to the show. You're listening to Soul Podcasting, episode 32. I'm able to do this show monthly because of my services that I offer as a content strategist, helping entrepreneurs thrive online with a web presence that matters. And I offer content marketing services, including podcast coaching and brand development over at herbusinesselevated.com. And if you want to catch the show notes, hop on over to impactpodcastcoach.com, and these links will be in the show notes. Also, stay tuned to the middle of the show where I'll be sharing a new product offering that I have for you right in time for the holidays. And just a quick hint, there will be a Black Friday sale included. I am currently recording in November of 2024, but that's for later. So for now, let's tackle the topic of staying creative and burnout free in podcasting. Some of the most pressing challenges in podcasting are staying consistent, growing your audience, keeping your content fresh, managing your time, and avoiding burnout. And these are the core struggles that many of us face. But don't worry, I've got tips and I've got some strategies to help you power through. So go ahead and grab that favorite beverage and let's settle in and get into it. Let's first talk about keeping content fresh, and let's tackle creativity. Have you ever hit a wall and thought, what on earth am I going to talk about next? Trust me, you're not alone. Keeping your content fresh and exciting is an ongoing challenge, but it's also what keeps people coming back for more. So here's some ideas about how to stay creative. You can survey your audience and ask your listeners what they want to hear. A lot of people like to do this on Instagram or one of your socials. A quick poll on Instagram or a question in your newsletter can really spark new ideas that you hadn't even considered. For one of my podcasts over at Christian Homeschool Moms, I would typically ask for my listeners' advice about what they wanted to hear on the show, and I would curate some ongoing suggestions. I had a running list of ideas because of suggestions for topics. Another idea for staying creative is to collaborate with your guests. So invite new voices onto your podcast every once in a while, and it adds some variety and fresh perspective. It's also a great way to cross-promote and reach new listeners. It's something I did with Shannon Tashney last year on my Her Business Elevated podcast, and we did some cross-promotion. Also, stay encouraged that listeners are more in a mood to binge listen now more than ever before. And it's because current research is showing an uptick in listeners that are less satisfied with these bite-sized podcasts and more interested in longer episodes. And when they do listen to longer episodes, they tend to enjoy binging on the back catalog. Check out this recent article I found from the podcast host, and it shows these stats in detail. I'll be leaving a link for that blog post if you want to take a look at that whenever you get a moment, but that will also be in my show notes today. Just want to give credit where credit is due. And I did get this from the podcast host, and I think that what they're doing is awesome, offering great value to the podcast community. So head on over there sometime when you get a moment and see what they're all about. So even if you're keeping your content super fresh and updated regularly, know that listeners also care about what you've published in the past. And that's great to know, because sometimes we just run out of ideas and we think, what can we say again that we've already said 50 times in the previous shows? So just be aware that it's okay that your listeners are listening to your past shows as well. Your content is there. And sometimes it's just a matter of taking a new twist on things for your new episodes and maybe just kind of adding a little bit of a different light to what you've already said to bring value in a different way. And also remember that your voice is unique and your audience values your perspective. So don't be afraid to experiment and to try something new. All right. My second tip for you is to talk about time management. So we've talked about keeping your content fresh. And again, this is all about staying creative and keeping yourself from getting burned out with podcasting. So time management is going to be of utmost importance in order not to burn out. Podcasting is a time commitment, and between planning and recording and editing and promoting, it can feel like a full-time job on top of your actual job or your family responsibilities. And that's why managing your time wisely is so very important. So here are a few tips that I may have mentioned in other shows in the past. But again, this is so important that it can be repeated over and over again. And one of them is to automate. Automations is so important. Repeat anything where you have repetitive tasks that have to be done again and again. Go ahead and put those on automation. Use your tools like scheduling software for social media posts or auto-publishing your episodes on the podcast platforms that allow for that. These small steps free up so much mental energy. So for your scheduling, if you're doing social media, then it's going to be Planoly or Later or something like that. If you're using a blog platform, you might want to use something like CoSchedule. And then, of course, with YouTube, it already has a built-in function to schedule out your posts. So this way you can just set it and forget it. Check out my episode number 30 on powering up your business marketing with podcasting. So that's a great one to check out just to kind of go along with what we're talking about today. And secondly, when possible, try to delegate. I'm a solopreneur, so I don't do a lot of delegations. I do a lot of my own work and I enjoy the editing process, so I don't farm that out. But if editing is not your strong suit, or if it's just taking too much of your time, you may want to consider outsourcing. And then if you do, you can go to sites like Fiverr or Upwork that can connect you with affordable help. Back in the day, just for full authenticity and transparency, I used to spend hours perfecting every single episode that I ever created. And over time, I realized that done is better than perfect. So focus on delivering value and don't get bogged down in the little details. And this is spoken from a perfectionist. So I'm telling you that it's not as important as we sometimes make it out to be. I'm overcoming my perfectionism, and I'm on my own anti-perfectionism journey right now. So this is really something that I can share with you authentically, and hopefully it resonates with you. But yes, done is better than perfect for sure. And before we dive in, I've got a little something exciting to share because I actually got something done over the past few weeks that I've been working on for a little while. And I decided that it didn't have to be perfect and that it could be what it is. And I could be ready to share it and reveal it to you guys. So I'm so excited that my brand new course, Content with Confidence, is officially here. This course is for all of you entrepreneurs and creatives out there who are ready to create impactful content and to show up boldly online. And guess what? It's on sale right now until Black Friday. So I don't want you to miss out. If you're listening to the show, of course, during a time that's not November 2024, just know that it's still very reasonably priced no matter when you're listening to the show. So you'll be able to find everything you need to decide whether or not this course is for you by using the link that I'll provide in the show notes for you. So remember, this is episode number 32, and just check for the link in the show notes to find out more about Content with Confidence. And also be sure to check out my latest YouTube video where I share about my 20-year journey in content creation and how I built over 10 brands during that time. And let's just say it's been quite a ride. It has been a journey. I would never have it any other way. I'm glad I experienced everything I did, even all the bumps and the bruises and the scrapes along the way. But it has been great because I've had so many valuable lessons on connecting with people, creating content that makes a difference, that's impactful, that helps people in their particular circumstances and whatever my niche and my passion happens to be, to connect with people who are also on the other end of my camera or my microphone or the blog that I'm writing, to feel that connection with me because they know that somebody out there is going through the same thing and understands and has advice. And so that is what I've been doing for the last 20 years. And I have loved every minute of it. So I share about my journey on my YouTube channel. And that video that I talk specifically about my journey, I will share also a link in the show notes. All right, moving on to section 3, which is growing your audience. So let's talk about audience growth, which can really honestly feel like climbing a mountain because you poured your heart into your podcast. But it's hard when the listener stats don't reflect that effort. And here's what I've learned, that growing your audience takes strategy, patience, and a lot of persistence. So you'll want to focus on niche topics because the narrower your niche, the easier it is to attract the right audience. So don't be afraid to get very specific about what you offer because people are searching for exactly what you're bringing to the table. And then you'll want to leverage your social media because those platforms are your best friend for connecting with your listeners. You want to share sound bites, behind the scenes content, teasers for upcoming episodes, and don't forget to engage, to reply to your comments and your messages. So social media has its place in content marketing, even though I do talk a lot about SEO and having that foundation, that home base. I really believe in having content that brings eyeballs back to your website and not have everything go to your social media, but you want to use social media to bring your potential clients and customers back to your website, your offerings, and that's the way you want to leverage the social media. So again, growth doesn't happen overnight, but when you consistently show up and provide value and connect with your audience, the numbers will follow. Just trust the process. And lastly, we're just going to talk about avoiding burnout because it's real and it's something that many podcasters face. When you're juggling so much, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and wonder if it's even worth it to have a podcast. But let me tell you, your voice matters and your podcast has a purpose. So to prevent burnout, you want to take breaks. It's okay to take a week or even a month off. Just communicate with your audience. Let them know that you're taking a break and come back refreshed and ready to serve them a lot better. You'll also want to streamline your workflow. So find ways to simplify. And maybe that means cutting back on how often you publish, which is something that I've done for this show, which I'm only doing once a month now. Or reduce the length of your episodes. So do what works for you. And then reconnect with your why. So whenever I feel discouraged, I go back to the reason I started podcasting. For me, it's about helping others to share their voices and grow their platforms. So what's your why? And hold on to that. Once you figure out what your why is, hold on to it. And this is what's going to keep you going. My closing thoughts for you today is that podcasting is not always easy, but it is incredibly rewarding when you approach it with intention and balance. So if you're feeling stuck, remember these tips that I've just shared with you today to stay consistent, to focus on your audience, keep your content fresh, manage your time wisely, focus on growing your audience, and above all, avoid burnout by taking care of yourself. And you have got this. I want you to know that if you just take the first step, the second will follow. Just put one foot in front of the other. You've got this. Podcasting is all about doing it with soul. It's about doing it with passion. It's about talking about what's in your heart to share with your audience and making that connection. So if today's episode resonated with you, I would love to hear about it. You can tag me on social media at Demetria Zinga and share your thoughts. And if you need more personalized support, you can head over to my website to check out my podcast coaching services. But until next time, I would love for you to keep creating with heart and with soul. And until next time, happy podcasting.